Good morning. I just wanted to come to you and share, just what Nevada's, eh, plan was for under Every Child Succeed. That's the Obama Educational Act. And let's not pretend, a lot of people don't understand, that my level of involvement was just to this point. All right, so in December 2015, President Barack Obama signed into law a bipartisan Every Student Succeed Act as a reauthorizing the educational reauthorizing Elementary and Secondary Act of Education of 1965. You see, 1965 things. It's 2020, yes, but I was living in 1965, so it's not that far. Not that far in my memory. I can still recall. And the nation's education law and longstanding comment to commitment to educational equity for all students and replacing No Child Left Behind Act under ESSA, under the ESSA authority, has now been developed to state and to a, devolved to states, although allowing each state flexibility to set policies, to create timelines and for the progress to develop school improvement plans. In addition, developing a plan for spending federal funds and meeting federal requirements for each state is responsible for, for charting its own plan and best meets the needs for their own students. So you see, every state is responsible to ensure that all the children are learning. So it says last month, the Nevada Department of Education NDE completed a draft of the state plan and the current state student achievement. Stakeholders have been invited to provide feedback. Oh, who's a stakeholder? Do you know what stakeholders are? You are my friends and family members, or my, Facebook friends, or my YouTube friends and partners are stakeholders in America because you pay taxes. Okay, where was I? Let's see, review the Kenny Glenn Center policy, priorities, and command the need for the Department of Education for inclusiveness process emerging out of this plan, basically, K-12. Okay, here we go. We see an opportunity to unify and align many elements of strategies named in the educational equity and supporting all students focus area. Through the change management plan, the core of which is weighted funding formula. See, the core is this weighted funding formula, along with clear defined accountability mechanisms, which suggests two conceptual frameworks and added structure and clarity to the process. First, we suggested that Nevada Department of Education create its own readiness rubric and assessed readiness to move categorical investments, meaning plot spending programs, and such as Zoom schools, to distribute school account and weighted funding formula model. So I guess the model was Zoom, that they wanted to make the priority schools like Zoom schools. Now, Nevada can draw from the best practices and plotting scale, strategic initiatives. See table 1 for example. All right, let's scroll down, shall we? Oh, table 1. This is a rubric of readiness, basically. Here we go. Every child reading, the 3rd grade reading proficiency benchmark is very clear and measures the effort to add literacy and specialists in the schools to track and monitor. So they were going to do this district-wide for children who were Title I. I mean, it's just not, they said the model was those Zoom schools and the victory schools, but didn't mean that that's not what the plan was to do for children who were eligible Title I. Let's see. The Nevada Department of Education, and notice who's reporting this, NDE. They're saying that There's a lack of sufficient data to provide authentic analysis of Zoom schools, which suggests that more time is required to analyze this categorical investment and give these funds concentrated relatively in small number of high need schools. And it's just what the money was, and then it talked about the local spending level. And then, hey, they said they weren't ready to transition for all those children to this process. In addition, invest, prove, and reinvest, and prove strategies where the strategies are applied. But that's what I can't find. I've searched, I've looked at the school sites, and I've looked at the district level, and I've looked at the state level, and the data is just not there. And it's almost become a joke that it's a game for them, for me, because I asked for the information, and guess what they give me? Nothing. They give me error, found not found. And so that means that they have no intention on responding to me. And who am I anyway? They don't give a damn. But I'm just someone who has concern about the failed services for people who look like me. And because, see, I've seen these people attempt to speak on the behalf of their children. And I mean people like me. And I can see that they're being ignored. And I don't get ignored. No, because I'm talking about what they're talking about. I'm just repeating what the plan was, you see? And everybody should understand that there was a plan. And I'm not just shooting the breeze out my ass. I'm really telling you that there was a plan in place to help all children. The problem was that they chose not to enact it for all children. Here we go. Policy note 1. Examples. And then it's got invest. Example, the state invests $25 million in categorical programs across the highly structured categorical disbursement. And prove the program evaluation suggests that some level of impact and outcome identifier on the minor programmatic modification could have yielded a greater impact or outcome. Reinvest. The state reinvests $50 million in weighted school funding formula and $25 million in new funding. Okay, but I'm just saying, if nobody's watching this process, I can guarantee you it's not happening for all children. And, in their recent funding formula, they wanted to be able to keep the Zoom and the Victory schools. Well, guess what? There are a few. They're not all Zoom and Victory schools. And that is my issue, because where the Zoom and Victory schools are not, then the children have nothing, because they don't have a plan in place. Should we read on? Why not? So the whatever this WIN Center suggests additional strategies to raise the ceiling in addition to closing the gaps. We applaud the laser-focused closing opportunity outcomes and gaps on educational equity. And you see, when they were doing the weighted funding formula, once again, I didn't hear them talk about closing no gaps. Hell, the only thing they mentioned was small schools, rural schools. And they even went as far as saying that the weighted funding formula would cover as low as 7 children. 7 children in a program with a full staff. 7, number 7. Okay, maybe I'm not communicating what that looks like, because there could be a school like I described in Sacramento, like Edward Kimball and Cesar Chavez, which is one school resource code on one city block with bungalows and upwards of 1,200 children with the same number of staff that would have covered a school with 150 children. See, that's where the comparison comes in. But regardless of how they choose to do it, I don't care. But what I do care is that the job get done. They must prove that they are providing access to the same educational supports for those children, and the 1,200 children versus 7 children. But see, the equalness of support and outcomes and the measured maintenance of effort, it's supposed to happen. And it's not. I mean, I can talk about parent involvement all day long because I can eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff because I just did it for so long. And so many people, there was hardly nobody with me. But it really doesn't matter because now I can share my life experience. So let's scroll down a minute. And they suggested, then this is way back when, a stronger look at accountability, because this is, Obama. They recommended connecting existing and measuring measures of school success and pupil outcomes subsequent to grade level, even when the next grade is at another school. And they also recommended that considering the rate of transiency and enrollment changes in choice schools, this will ensure magnets, charters, and other schools are working to serve the needs of every child enrolled. Now, they didn't say all the children. They said all the children that are enrolled in those programs. And you don't have to worry. There aren't too many children who are in poverty, who are struggling, who are on the other side of the gap, even have access to these additional services. Because, heard a lot of people talking about TG. Oh, what was it? Talented and gifted, TG, as if it was, an honor. And it is an honor to be put in a GATE program. But it was more than that. They were entitled to it because there's so many children that don't have nothing. And for whatever reason, here in Nevada, they don't think that they have to give them anything because everybody is employed. Everybody gets to choose where they want to work, and nobody has to work over there with them children, and then they don't have to provide equitable access to the same level of services. And nobody's complaining about that. Here in Nevada, they say, federal government, you said your government, somebody tell me. I'm saying, well, it's the federal government that gave me the right to speak. But here you are talking about you don't believe in, the mandates from the federal government. And here in Nevada, they do we the people, not the federal government. And guess what? You pay your taxes to the federal government so the money can come back for the per pupil allocation under the census, for the number of inhabitants that you have that qualify for, the census count. So somebody just needs to help me with this dysfunction and distrust in the federal government here in Nevada. I can understand because, see, they have all this gaming money. And they don't let the gaming money go towards the public schools. None of that money's going towards the public schools. And some of these crazy folk right about now want to get out and protest because they're not getting their money. And guess what? Their money was being given to them, and Black people didn't have. Well, I'm not Black people. I am I'm ADOS, and I'm African descendant of a slave. But I have my citizenship that never was fully recognized. And now in 2020, my citizenship truly is fully recognized. As you see me here, I have freedom to share experience and knowledge that I have gained over time, in which so many of you haven't had the level of experience and understanding of public education. Even though you may have worked in the field, it's not something that you would have done in regards to advocacy or understand the involvement and level of public participation and the power in the public. You wouldn't know any of that because you were always doing the side where you were over there working. You stayed in your lane. You see, staying in your lane is critical sometimes when you're trying to manage people, because you can't have them getting out of control. But see, there's no lane for parent involvement. There's no lane for community engagement. It's just the lane. And the lane says you have a right to have a concern. And so here I am in my lane and being ignored as always. But I'm the kind of person that just never goes away. Here she is again. And here she is again. And, it's almost exciting to me to review information, to see if it happened. And if it didn't happen, shall we all have a long conversation about what took place and what did happen? So let's just scroll up, shall we? Under this Nevada Plan for Every Child Succeed Act, under this Gwen Center policy. I'm sure they don't do these policy people anymore, because see, they go in. Nevada has a way of having lobbyists come in and put together programs for them, and then maybe they'll apply it in a small area, but it's not for everybody. It's just not for everybody. So if you haven't been included, what should I say? Don't feel left out, because not many people here in Nevada are included, because they appoint commissioners, and they have all these little commissions and boards that are appointed boards, not elected boards. And then for the elected folks, well, they just vote to rescind their responsibility for oversight. They voted to rescind their responsibility to oversee the work of the superintendent, and then had the nerve to try to get concerned about his behavior when they gave him total authority, total full control to make a decision on how to turn this stuff around. And guess what? Well, he's doing whatever the former administration was doing. Nothing's changed, not for Black people anyway. Let's not pretend somehow more young African that they can even demonstrate that more African American children have had access to Head Start, because they haven't grown that program. It's not like a lot of more of our children are in those programs for early access. And then we have far too many children who don't have placement until after the age of 7. So, or, until they've turned 7, or maybe they even put it at 5, but guess what? It doesn't really matter, because many children who are affluent have access to resources. Those resources just exist. Anyways, let's quickly scroll through here, because I want to add something else here. Student outcomes and the journey, and how they align it. Opportunity, and alignment. But they don't say how they're measuring this process. We appreciate all the focus on the multiple measures of student outcomes, especially the college readiness and comparable data across the states, to balance the less normative graduation rates. We also support, in addition, the state funding goal for all students learn in an environment that is physically, emotionally, and intellectually safe, which will put the focus of experience on our children in the schools in our state focus. And see, there's just no way to get there, because you can't see that at their local plans. And I want to do a little short video about school site councils. I just make sure that I'm sharing the screen, because sometimes when I change in the middle, it doesn't really change in the middle. Okay, here's how they were going to align it. Support the efforts of updated NSPF to capture the broader picture of the school success and monitor equity. You see how they were? I don't know how they was monitoring equity. I really don't, because nothing changed. They had the opportunity to see a greater focus on accelerating interventions and efforts that are working towards, i.e., shining star list. They have a shining star list. Did you know that? Okay. And resources of the LEA funds to scale success. Currently, our system tends to cut back on resources and support for school. It's a school who is improving, which we suggest doubling down on school and that's showing promise. In the family roles section, in addition, suggesting families work with low-performing schools and identify steps towards improvement. NDE should give parents data and resources to learn about schools that are achieving stronger outcomes to help parents make, basically choice. See, let's talk about choice schools. But guess what? Black people really did have choice, because when they called them and told them to come get their child, well then, there's so much transiency, because you could get rid of a child easy. It just took one principal and one teacher to suspend or expel a student. And so usually it's the phone calls that make people come in and off their work and come to see about what's going on with their children. But anyway, here, opportunity. There was lots of opportunity. And then here are the people that were involved in making this wonderful plan. And here's a summary. This is the executive summary. Okay, shall we read it? Every child deserves an opportunity to love and learn in school. The state leaders and the policymakers should establish policies that direct resources in a way that elevates the educational journey. Did you hear that? Do you feel that? You know, as a local community member, understanding the data, did you feel that? You know, because this happened on March 17th, it's 2020. But I want to make sure that people were feeling that that was happening. And the teachers and principals have the greatest impact on learning and experience of all students. Policy should establish and resources allocated in a way that elevates teaching in the teaching profession. But, you know, these teachers didn't have to work with those Title I skills, those programs proven schools, you know, the low and performing schools, because they had all these vacant positions at those schools. And guess what? They filled them with temporary teachers. And those temporary teachers weren't working in those schools with the aligned school plan for how they were spending that money. No, they were just there and leaving, just like the students, with no planned investment. All right, decisions should be made closest to the point of impact. Policies and resources allocations and key decision-making rights should remain at the school site. So that's why they said they have these school site SOT teams. And these SOT teams are supposed to be making plans that, that show how they're spending the money. And then public education is interconnected, interrelated components. Overall education, the ecosystem should be integrated, vertically aligned, responsive, and able to adapt to the evolving needs of within whoever. Now, I don't know who wrote shit like that, because you can't really align it, really. You can't measure the maintenance of effort. Excuse me, allergies. And here's where they got their information, and here's where you can get your information too, since you are watching the video that I'm sharing. Let me see, let's stop this share. And let's see if we can share the screen one more time and see if the other information that I wanted to share is out there. Share the screen. And here we go, because it's a video. And share it. And then rewind it.
If it was going to affect A through Z, then those site council people should have been brought to the table.
This is the most important thing, parent involvement.
That would have accomplished two things. Raised awareness with your partner, because if you are Bank of America and you're the CEO, you don't just sit there and say, oh my God, we're out of money. What are we going to do? So the CEO doesn't consult with the board of directors. The CEO just gets right up, packs up his little briefcase, and said, well, y'all lock the doors because we out of business today. That's not how it works. Together. And they began to develop a strategy of how we're going to handle this crisis. So, to answer your question, that should have been the first thing that happened between the board, the superintendent, finance people, whoever else they wanted to bring. But I'm going to speak from the side of the community and the schools. These are the people that you should have been working with. Right off the bat, we have a fiscal crisis. Now, it might have just been a scratch at that time. Then upon closer look, we saw it was flesh-eating bacteria, and it had ate through to the bone. Either way, the progress of the situation, you would have advised. You guys would have been working together on this plan, on this situation. The site council has a responsibility to go back to the school. And here's the second piece with the site council. School site council meeting. That's it. Where's the rest of the world? Somebody needs to be governing you too. So the rest of the school should be in the audience, just like at a board meeting. And I personally, and I've been on the school board, I don't know what the heck to go there for. But here, This is home. This is home. This is your kitchen table when the site council sits down to meet, because that way you know. You know. Then it became the responsibility of those site councils to go back and let the community know. Let that particular school community know. We gotta scratch. Well, no. We gotta cut. Well, no. Child, we infected to the bone. We may have to amputate. But the community would have come right along with Twin Rivers. Then we wouldn't have all these Twin Rivers people in here. I don't like what's going on, because you would have been able to say, I don't like this. Twin Rivers board and superintendent would have received that information. Not in a hostile manner. Not after we have severed the lines of trust, because I left the bank and went home on Friday, and when I came on Monday, the doors were locked and I couldn't get in, and I don't know why. Oh no, you know, we are able to talk at the site level. We're able to send that word through our council representation to the administration, and they are able to shape their decision-making process in partnership with the community. Versus
Back in time to stop it this year. Okay, so pause the share. And let's go. I'm going to show you something else that's in my, what's going on? All right, we're going to stop the recording right now, and then I'm just going to go with that for right now, because, let's see. Can I go to me? I can, I really can. Go to all my videos, see, resume the share. Okay. So, I have been recording community meetings for a very long time. So there's one more down here that I'd like to share. I want to go to all my videos. All the videos, and then just scroll down. Because I had to get really busy lately simply because the conversation just wasn't seeming to happen. And, you know, I could play part of this so you understand what my concerns are.
Terms were used, we actually just left it broad and said that we will always be operating under a strategic plan.
We can do it if students are out close.
We should
motion unless a trustee requests that an item be taken separately. Passage of all consent agenda items as submitted is recommended. Items may be taken out of order. Members of the public wishing to speak on a consent agenda item may speak prior to the vote. Those members of the public who are speaking on 4 or more items will be allowed a total of 10 minutes. Trustees, I have no members of the public signed up to speak on any items on the consent agenda. Trustee Young?
I'd like to approve the consent agenda, but I want to ask that 3.19 and 3.20 be taken separately. I'd like to approve the consent agenda from a consent agenda 3.01 through 3.20 with 3.19, 3.20 taken separately.
Okay, so 3.19 and 3.20.
So it'd be all the way 3.01 to 3.18, and then 3.19, 3.20.
Okay, trustees, I have a motion by Trustee Young. I'm looking for a second. Trustee Ford?
I will second that motion.
Thank you. Trustees, I have a motion by Trustee Young, a second by Trustee Ford to approve consent agenda items 3.01 to 3.18. Trustees, please cast your votes. Trustee Garvey?
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0. And then I'm going to turn it over to you, Trustee Young, for do you want to do them both together or?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Okay, do them both together. Thank you very much, trustees. I just wanted to bring up 3.19, and that is the letter of agreement between the Clark County School District and the Alexander Dawson Foundation. I went through this letter of agreement rather extensively, and for the most part, my understanding is we've been doing this for about 9 years, had a chance to talk to some staff. My biggest concern, and certainly I want to say this from the outset, that I am appreciative of the Alexander Dawson Foundation and what they have done in the past and what they are proposing to do from June 6th, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. With the partnership between their foundation and the Clark County School District. I have about 4 major concerns that I would like to bring up for our consideration with this particular letter of agreement. First of all, I understand that we've been doing this for 9 years, but perhaps we need to reassess what we're doing, maybe not stop it, but to review and see if there's a way we can enhance what's being done for the 4 weeks that students will be involved in the summer summit and the connection meetings. And my major concern is I understand there will be 2 students from each middle school that will participate in the summer summit. And the Dawson Foundation has agreed to take care of, thank you, Dawson, for taking care of the funding for these students and funding the cost of the supplies and the food and paying the fees for the bus transportation. And they're going to select the participants from the counselor recruitment and submit an application. So the schools are going to take part of that, which I think is a good thing. The schools would do that for the 2 students. And Dawson is going to take care of the curriculum using the content from the Dawson College Bound program. And then they're going to look and hire teacher applicants and hire group leaders, which will be high school students, and assistant teachers, which will be university students for the program. So it really does have a wonderful foundation in what they will be preparing to do for these 2 students from the 59 middle school students that we have from the Clark County School District. And herein is the concerns that I have. Let's say a typical middle school, and I'll just go on the low side, has 700 students. They take 2 of those students for this wonderful program that will be during the summer. That's 2, let's say, out of 700. That leaves me with 698 students that will have perhaps nothing. So I am happy for the 2 and the luck of the draw. You're going to be trying to select students, particularly, as I understand, from students where their zip code may not afford them the opportunity to participate in this kind of a program. So I'm happy about the 2. But my concern is about the other 698. And so I'm saying, as we look at what the Clark County School District agrees to, the school district will disseminate the information and application for the Dawson College Bound opportunity to the middle school. The school district will provide the summer teaching opportunity to CCSD teachers if they want to participate. They're going to coordinate 4 school bus routes each day, so that's what we're going to do. And they're going to help coordinate bus transportation for enrichment activities throughout the year. And so if you look at it, the Exhibit A, you'll see how much that all costs.
Okay, so I'm stepping in here and you just need to understand that she's talking about the money is coming from the big pot of money for at-risk youth, and they only took two kids, and they've been doing this for 10 years, and that school's been getting more than $20,000 for 2 students, and then there's no maintenance of that. So when I came to the Wild Wild West, I mean, that was a long time ago in the 70s. I think we moved to California on the West Coast, but I didn't understand the flexibility in doing whatever the hell we want to do, because that's exactly what's been going on. Let's just play a little bit more, and then we'll see if some more juicy stuff is going to happen here.
So what is my concern? Would there be anything that we can do for the, let's say if it's 700 students, for the 698? We've been doing this for 9 years. Have we kept any data? Have we followed the 2 students who have been there, let's say each year? Do those students come back the following year if they're in the 6th grade or 7th grade? If they have gone on further from middle school to high school, what has happened with them and what has been the outcome of this activity? And can we look at this activity and replicate any aspect of it, maybe one component of it that we can put in our middle schools and use for all the other maybe 698, or at least maybe it's a story, maybe it's an activity, maybe it's information that the 2 students maybe could come back and share, maybe as a student representative, and share that and maybe have some kind of information that the other students can glean from that. My concern is that we typically do this from time to time. We bring in and do some wonderful things for 2, but we forget about the others. And I'm just a little concerned that we take some of this process routes each day. So that's what we're going to.
So, okay. Did you understand kind of like what she was saying? I mean, what she was talking about was really criminal. And this is what fraud looks like. And it really is fraud, because the Alice Dawson School is a charter school. And charter schools don't qualify for it. Well, they do. Charter schools get the money represented by the number of children who qualify for the free and reduced lunch in their schools and programs. So they would get some money if they were doing school-wide programs, and they had some of them chilling in there. But what she's saying is that money was targeted like a scholarship in 2 children, and there's no data to demonstrate the maintenance of effort. And this has been going on for a long time. Somebody help me with trying to understand the criminal aspect of public oversight. Now I'll put it like that. Let me see.
Just seeing that if we can make this a little bit more inclusive, a little bit more with equity. And I understand we are doing a lot more with the diversity piece of looking at the ethnic distribution of the students that participate in this program, that it reflects the ethnic distribution of our district. So that's my concern.
Thank you, Trustee Young. I'm going to have Superintendent Jara.
Yes,
Let's let him
thank you,
weigh
Madam President, members of
Listen
the
to
board.
him
Trustee
weigh
Young, you bring up great points. Some of the conversations we had in cabinet around, especially around the diversity of the students and how they're selected. And so we'll certainly work with this year, look at staff with staff to see what their program is. But please understand that with our summer programming, it's really around credit recovery and remediation. Unfortunately,
do you hear what he's saying? It's credit recovery,
budget challenges
remediation.
It's
the money that
we do have limited
those children
sites across the valley, and it's really for more credit recovery and students recovering some of the.
Do you understand what he's saying? It's about credit recovery. It's a summer program, but then not all children are eligible to access only 1, 2, and then you're so blessed to get the draw, to be the one. And if you can just remember, just recently, we had the experiences on the game show of Congress when the president, what's his name? Donald Trump, acknowledged that there was one Black child who wanted to have an opportunity to go to a better school. Her mother wanted her to have the same opportunities as every other American. And he awarded her a scholarship right there in the middle of Congress. He selected one Black child to get a reward. She had one because her mother just happened to get the luck of the draw. And here we are talking about 2 in the state of Nevada, 1, 2, who were eligible for credit recovery, and they were described as at risk to get that little scholarship for the Alex Dawson Charter School. Okay, I'm gonna be quiet. Sit. Play more.
Credits, and so we certainly, it's something that we will continue to study and look at so that we can provide opportunities for more students, especially in the middle school as they progress and get ready for high school. Great points.
So just to clarify, these students are not selected yet, right? This is.
Yes, they are.
Oh, they are
Yes.
selected. Okay.
And just to follow up,
Trustee Young?
and I do understand that our programs have always been about trying to recover credits and get students caught up and all of that. But this program is a little bit different. It is not doing that.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing. I don't think if students are out close to 11 weeks or not quite 12 weeks, sometimes they don't need to be picking up credits, but they need to be kind of enhancement, enrichment, what this program is about. And probably I know more than most, and most of you know more than others.
Oh, all right, I got to pause one more time. I just couldn't stand it. I had to talk about it. See, the extended year of service that children in special education are entitled to under the federal government is so they don't lose their place, and so that they work on strategies to support and sustain them when, during the summer, so that they can be ready during the school year. But nobody really does that. They don't do that in California. Of course, my son Tyler, who was a fully engaged special ed student that didn't go to full inclusion until the 7th grade. Well, we didn't do summer school ever. Let me tell you why. Because I didn't believe in dittos. And I believed that family time was more important. And so during the summer, of course, me being the parent that I am and having older boys, and my boys love video games. And so I would play the video games with the closed caption on the bottom so that my children could learn to read and process information as people were saying it. But it was because of the closed caption. Okay, I'm going to play some more. Please, follow along with the fantasy and the gift of 2 children.
We don't have the money, of course, to even begin to replicate anything like this. But I think until you can articulate it and at least put it out there that this is a need, and yet a need that's being fulfilled for some students, I think we have to begin to articulate it and say what our concerns are.
Thank you, Trustee Young.
Okay.
Trustee Sabina?
Well, I was just going to motion to approve, 3.19 and 3.2 for you. Did you talk about 3.2?
No, I haven't talked about 3.2.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to put that motion out there to approve both of those. And I think I also just want to add that I guess as a board, I don't see, while I appreciate the points of encouraging summer programs that encourage leadership and
Do you kind of understand what she's saying? So that money is for at-risk youth, and they wove it around credit recovery, but it was only for 2 students. And those concepts, they didn't have enough money to work with all the children in the district, so they chose those 2. And it was very competitive. And they don't talk about the process how they got to those 2, but they were already chosen. And you see, that's how they're spending the title in the federal dollars as gifts to certain children who are targeted and recognized, as far as I'm concerned, because for certain children who are not in the Victory and Zoom schools and the Victory and Zoom programs, they don't get shit. Unfortunate. the graduation rate here in Nevada is so low. It's just unfortunate.
Being an amazing citizen, I also don't think it's it's not in our purview to be, to ask for, to ask for some of these programming. I think it's definitely something we could ask for evaluations of or to encourage. So I guess I'm just a little concerned about our role in this. I think as a practitioner, yeah, that's totally, a different hat I wear. And I think, yes, we need these leadership programs. I just don't think it's necessarily our purview here. So I guess I just wanted to add that as well.
Thank you, Trustee Savannah. Trustee Ford, do you want to second that motion for conversation, and then we can keep talking about, we can go on to 3.2?
I was going to make a comment, and then I think that Linda.
Okay, I just need a second to continue the conversation.
Oh, yes, I second that.
Okay.
If you want to continue the conversation.
And then Trustee Ford, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I appreciate you bringing this up. And although it isn't our purview to necessarily get in the weeds with this and change how it operates, this was brought up from the consent agenda, which we usually take out all at once. And I think that we should start doing this kind of thing and pulling these out and talking about it, because it isn't just us. We get briefed on a lot of the things that are in the consent agenda, and we have a lot of questions, but there's a large following of community members, parents, even students who want to know even that these things exist, and they don't know how to weed through the agenda like we do to know what's really going on, what we're spending money on, and even what opportunities are available for their kids as well. So I appreciate that you do bring this up. Again, even me as a trustee, I read through everything, because sometimes, I just learned a lot just from this back and forth conversation right here about it. So I do think that the board should get in the habit of, not necessarily trying to make changes to how it works, but pulling it out and giving some opinions as to how we can do it better or more effectively in the future.
Thank you, Trustee Ford. Before I go on, I just want to point out that these things are actually about programs, and they are not under the control of the board. So while, yes, you may pull these out and comment on it, it's probably really important for you to also to educate the public about what your role is as a board member, so that they have realistic expectations of what you can and cannot do. So we can have that conversation under 4.01 though, because that's a lot of that is related to programming. Trustee Young?
Okay, and thank you for that. But see, as trustees, this is what typically happens. People tend to think that we just rubber stamp, we just kind of go along to get along. And we have to look at partnerships. We have to look at when people put in letters of agreement. No, we're not supposed to maybe get into the actual program, but we need to find out how these things are working and what can we do better and what can we emulate. We should not just go along to get along. And that's what they see us doing most of the time up here. Just take all of the consent agenda. And I'm not trying to get into a thing with the Dawson Foundation. I think it's a great thing. But if we've been doing something for 9 years, that's our role, is to look at what we're doing and see if we can do it better. See if we can take this information and make sure more students are included, and how do we go about doing that. So I don't necessarily agree that this is not something we should be involved in. I think we should be involved in anything we vote on. If we vote on it, then even though I've heard it said, well, it's just a perfunctory kind of thing, and this may be a contract, and you've already agreed to the contract, and it would be a breach if you don't do something. I think we still have to ask about things, and we have to make sure we represent our constituents and those people who voted for us, and who ask us to be their voice. That's why we sit here. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Young. Trustee Savannah?
I think if we were to go through each individual program that involves our students, we'd be here for ages. I run a youth program myself. I've taken 100 CCSD students. We spent a week at UNLV. We built leadership and all these skills and soft skills.
And I just want to talk about the conflict of interest of this board member right here. She talks about her program and how she's worked with CCSD students from her position on the board. And if people don't understand the conflict of interest in that, then you don't understand the criminal aspect of what's going on here. And so many children who don't have access to the resources, the very resources that are supposed to target and support them, are not accessible because people like this on a board who say that they can't go through the weeds. If you don't understand what your personal responsibility is sitting as a governing board member, then perhaps that's not where you should be. Because if you're not creating access to all children, especially the targeted support of the students who are generating the funds, then there's just a problem here. I'm going to stop for a second. I didn't even show my face because I was just so frustrated at that moment. But let's continue, shall we?
Professional development, but again, if we were to dissect every single program, we would be here forever. If anything, I would maybe suggest if there was a way we could get some sort of briefing on all the different summer programs there might be. Maybe we could, take this in a big chunk if we wanted to have this conversation. But again, if we were to go through every single program, we'd be here forever.
Thank you, Trustee Cepeda. Trustee Young, did you want to touch on 3.20? We have a second of, okay.
Thank you. I think what I wanted to do just on this particular part of programming, and sometimes what we do when we bring these things up, and we don't do that many, we do maybe one or two a meeting. If we do that, we basically go through the consent. And for the most part, if one of us bring up something, it's a concern just for the public to know and for us to know of how we can improve what we're doing. So I kind of disagree with that comment, but that's okay. You have your comment, and that's what this is all good what it's all good about. So thank you. But thank you for bringing that up, because there are other people who feel that way. Now, on this particular one, on the Title VI Indian Education Program, I just want to give a little bit of a shout out to what Joe Caruso and Sherry, her last name is a different, what? Otherwise, okay, I was going to call it a different name. They're doing a wonderful job here with our Title VI Indian Education Program. I only have one comment, and I've said this to Mr. Caruso. The number, the amount for the $126,898. If we get those numbers a little better, a little tighter, I think we can move that amount up a lot more. And the program that, particularly for American Indian, Alaska Native students throughout the school district, for tutoring, reading, math, and science for these eligible students, and the cultural awareness activity, and the college preparation activities, and the parent committee. I think if we can do a little bit more in the summer to identify those students, these students are, the monies are based on the number of students we have. And this particular amount has been the same amount we've had almost for 15 years. And the school district has grown in population, and this amount has not. So as we move forward, I think I've already mentioned that to Mr. Caruso and Cheryl as well, that let's see if we can do a little bit better of identifying these students and thereby getting them involved in much more educational support from the school district and from the American Indian Alaska Native community. So thank you. I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you for your hard work, by the way. I appreciate you all.
Thank you, Trustee Young. Trustees, I have a motion by Trustee Cepeda and a second by Trustee Ford to adopt agenda items 3.19 and 3.20. Trustees, please cast your votes. Trustee Garvey?
Aye.
That motion passes 6-0. We're going to move on to agenda item. Actually, Trustee Cavazos is going to read the warrants.
Thank you, Madam President. Ratified warrants is listed in the bills payable transmittal and board memorandum number 19-18-19 and the total amount of $106,962,274.14.
Thank you, Trustee Cavazos. Okay, we're going to move on to agenda item 4.01, repeal of the Clark County School District Board of Trustees Governance Policy E-2, student learning. So, when we went through the policy review, there were a lot of things that referenced stuff that we don't do anymore. And one of them were strategic imperatives, academic, like all of the language in here are things that are being stricken because we are now going to follow the strategic plan. So every policy that we have where these terms were used, we actually just left it broad and said that we will always be operating under a strategic plan versus naming the plan or spelling anything out like this, so we don't have to change the policy. This might also be a really good time to talk about the difference between programmatic changes or initiatives and the role of the board, which is a governance role. So there's a difference between asking for accountability and return on investment and fiscal responsibility and reviewing things operationally. There's also, when we get briefed, the ability of a trustee to give feedback based on what kind of expertise they have in different arenas. So the conversation that we just had, where we talked a lot about specifically about a program and how we wanted to direct that program or what we wanted that to look like. The role of the board is to actually set a broad focus on what the superintendent is going to be doing, and his job is to actually map out what that looks like, how those resources are allocated, and then our review of his work is through his evaluation process on whether or not he meets those goals. So I know we've had lots of different board retreats. We've had the Council of Great City Schools come in. They've talked about the difference between a functional and a dysfunctional board. So it's not that I am trying to prevent you from having an opinion. It's that it's very clearly outlined in our governance structure on what we should and should not be doing. So I'd be happy to have that conversation, continue that conversation though. Trustee Young?
Thank you for that comment. And I think as a board, sometimes what we reflect will be the comments and concerns of people who talk to us about programs or.
I just have to pause here. I mean, I really just have to say it. That's not governance. There's no way that any person could analyze a public school or a public resource that we all pay for to determine if their child can be successful if there's no maintenance of effort. And you see, she just said there's no maintenance of effort. That's not what they do there. They're only documenting and supporting small schools in Clark County, where people who have lots of money to lobby for those small environments in the rural area, that those children can be successful. Because you understand, as from the other videos that I've done in the past, that, you know, the money is generated by the number of children who are in poverty, the federal government, who are disabled, the federal government, and, you know, who need English language arts acquisition to be able to speak English fluently. And see, there's no maintenance of effort of nothing. They sit there and they sign contract after contract and contract after contract, and they acquire these contractors, and all of a sudden these people are doing the work and nobody's doing any work because there's no data. You can't see any data. There's nowhere to get the data. And so, and then when they send you links that don't work, it's concerning. You understand what I'm saying? I'm just concerned. And we all should have a concern, especially now we've changed, you know, the direction of public services. And so now people are going to access resources and actually have real choice to find programs that they can assess their students on, like the Khan Academy, enroll in the Khan Academy. get your child on a computer somewhere and, to determine where they are. And then, you can start there. And then they just have different programs. There are a lot of online schools. Transfer, because now's the time. Because perhaps the district is not perfect at distance learning. Maybe they haven't acquired that skill, but guess what? There are many, many organizations out there that have acquired the distance learning. You're not stuck. You do have choice. This is what being an American is. It's about having choice and choosing the direction. This is dysfunctional. Although Linda Young, she really did care about her community, but her community was so disrespected all the time. Not just sometimes, but all the time. And they wanted to talk about how they just didn't have the responsibility to monitor the support that all children and engage in the practice of ensuring access happen. That's not the governance body's job, basically.
Ask us about why things are going the way they're going. And certainly we're not there to tell the superintendent how to do his job, but we also are there to act as a community conduit. What are our people saying? Because you lead through people. You lead through communities, and people are not going to always be here at meetings to give their opinion about what's working and what's not working. So if we don't listen to our constituents, and many of our teachers are our constituents, and many of our staff, support staff, are our constituents and administrators. And if we don't work to make sure everyone feels included and at least give some feedback to the superintendent as he and his staff are doing their job, because there are many people out there that will not speak up. They are terrified out there. They are feeling that if they speak up, they'll lose their jobs. They feel if they say anything about what's happening in the schools or their programs, that they will be retaliated against. There's a lot of that, and the only people they have to try to give some feedback to will be us. And many have come to me and said some things about much of what I've just said just a few minutes ago. And my concern or my comment is to put some of that out there so that there is a little bit of a discussion.
You see what she's talking about? She's really talking about a level of accountability in which they all voted that they would not have. They would not retain it. So they rescinded the right to measure or monitor the data. And I don't see a need for them to have a board. If parents and community members can't find out the information, just what they're doing and how they're spending the money, how they're spending the federal allocations that we all pay, you can find it out because there's just no way to. Let me see if I can shrink this window. I can shrink it. All right, there's one more place I just have to go. Well, where was I going to go, though? Truly. We just all have to know what's really not happening here. Because it's not. There's no way to advocate because they voted and to rescind their responsibility to govern. And it's not happening. And although, there are so many, shrink the window here to see. See this Nevada Every Child Succeed plan. I mean, it was written truly, and there are references, and shrink this window here. And then they had this. You guys should also, are we looking? Oh, we're not, you know what? It says that's what happened. I have to go back to the one I was at to have shared screen. Because not sharing screen yet. Not sharing screen yet. That's the only screen that I can really share where Linda Young was talking.
Discussion. And so that there is some feedback. Our governance structure is supposed to be informed oversight. We're not supposed to do it. Trust me, I do not have the inclination or the need to do anybody's program. I've done a bunch of programs out there, and it's a ton of work. But for us to remain silent You know, that old statement from Dr. King says that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. And when someone says, let's just gross over this, don't say anything, you're getting in the weeds, I don't totally agree with that. I do agree with when you start going in and managing programs, when you start saying how the program has to be. But for you to give some feedback or some information about a program, for me, I feel that's entirely appropriate.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on that.
Thank you, Trustee. Yeah, Trustee Ford?
Thank you for bringing up this conversation again, because a lot of the people that come to these meetings or watch don't necessarily go to our board retreats, and we don't even make them public or anything, but we probably have like 20 hours, or like, we don't like live stream them. That's what
And see, that's the issue here. The issue is, how do they engage the public in the oversight process of the use of the public dollars? And they're not. So no matter how we should just understand that that's something that's not happening, because you can't measure and monitor the use of services. But now, during this pandemic, this ultimate gift to the Black people, or the formerly enslaved people, African descendants of slaves, because those are the American people that have transitioned here generation after generation, and perhaps they didn't have strong family units. So a lot of that was dependent upon the public system to bring resources, and they don't do home economics anymore, or car repair, or teach skills in public schools. It's all about reading and writing and the fundamental issues in reading and writing. But guess what? If you can't read and write, they just skip right over you. They don't wait for you. They just skip right over you. And so, you know, if they're not managing programmatic resources and not ensuring that access happens, then it's just not happening. And that's what I'll say. So I'm doing my videos so that I can share my thoughts behind what's actually happening, and more people need to pay attention. This video includes what parent involvement should look like, and also what the board rescinded. And so you know what's not happening, and how also money is being utilized without any demonstrated maintenance of effort for the targeted support for children who are generating funds of at-risk use. So I'm going to end the stream for now, and I'm going to see if I can do this before I have a meeting today, or have a responsibility. I've committed to something, and today's my son's birthday, 21, Tyler. And so anyways, stopping for now, and I'll get back later on. Stop to share and say subscribe, Darlene Anderson on YouTube, and Darlene Billups Anderson on Facebook. Follow me.